Okay, hi. It's Super Bowl Sunday, and I want to do a quick video here to get us started in week four. Um, and I'm going to go back a little bit, a quick review of the first 3 weeks to set up where we are in week four, which is essentially your first assignment. Um, okay, so just very quickly then. In week one, it was all about the grantor-grantee relationship and the notion that there is no such thing as a free lunch. And that is because the interest of the grantor and the grantee are very rarely in perfect harmony. Okay? Remember that the grantor gives out money because he wants the grantee to do something specifically that the grantor wants done, right? And so there's some conditionalities or some conditions that the grantor puts upon the money that is being handed out. And to the extent that the interest in those conditions uh, are in perfect harmony with the grantees or the recipient's interest, then the lunch, the cost of the lunch being the grant, is fairly small, right? But over, but that is not the norm. The norm is that there's a little bit of space, at least a little bit of space, between the interest of the grantor and the conditions of the grant and the interest of the recipient, the grantee. That distance, that separation, is the cost of the lunch being the grant. And as those interests diverge, so does the cost of the lunch. Okay? And so the first week is simply recognizing that there is no such thing as a free lunch. Okay. And the second week, we talked about um, uh, the process by which you, as a grant seeker, find grants that you think work for you and your organization. Um, And Hall's main point is that you need to be smart about what type of where and when you put proposals into and where you apply for money. His main point is that um, you're wasting time if you're putting in proposals that you have little or no chance of uh, winning or being awarded. So think carefully up front about 6 elements that are important to the chances of your proposal actually being accepted. And they are eligibility, conditions, match requirements, allowable cost, program areas, and funding amount. Okay? And then Hall goes on to talk about some of the databases in which you can find potential uh, grant opportunities for your organization. Talks about grants.gov, talks about the Foundation Center, and then we also talked about how at the state and local level, networking is often a good way to find out about grants that might be very suitable for your organization. And we also talked about how networking through nonprofit member organizations that serve organizations like yours is a particularly good way of finding out about grants. Okay, and also finding out, potentially finding out about the grantor, and sometimes even meeting the grantor at group meetings sponsored by the nonprofit membership organization. Okay. And then last week, we talked about the importance of the need analysis and that first part of your grant proposal. Um, Remember that the needs assessment analysis and the needs portion of your proposal goes right up front and is essentially the first time that you get to make a first impression on the grantor that is in writing, right? And so, as Wesley pointed out in his post, without a needs analysis, a grant proposal is someone just asking for a handout from whomever is giving the grant, which likely won't happen anyway, right? because the whole point here of your needs analysis and your needs statement in the proposal is to uh, basically get the grantor to appreciate how important it is for them to give you money to meet a certain need that's identified. Okay. Um, and we talked a little bit about quantitative versus qualitative data. I think the point there is simply that remember that your usage of data in your needs assessment and analysis is a means to an end. The end is for the grantor to appreciate how important it is that they give you money to meet the need that you've identified. So the more they understand how the nature and magnitude of the need that you're trying to address, the more likely it is that they will give you the money if in fact they're interested in your need area, in the area of the need that you've identified. Okay. I think I said that right. As long as they're interested in the area of need that you've identified. Okay. Um, Now that brings us then to week 4 in this week's assignment, which is for you to do a funding source analysis. And so in this week's materials, there's some instructions for how you can get to the Foundation Center and go through the database there to try to find grants that you might want to apply for. But that's actually putting the cart before the horse, because what you have to first do is identify a potential project for which you could seek external funding. Now, in some of the posts this week, it was clear that some of you maybe haven't thought about or come up with a project yet. Um, so I was wondering if maybe we could have an informal dialogue online about the ideas you're coming up with. You can always call me um, Monday afternoon or Tuesday would work. Um, but if we maybe do an informal dialogue through the message capacity of Blackboard, if you send your message to all and everybody replies to all, then we can have a little dialogue back and forth on what you folks are thinking about. You can get the input from me, yes, but probably more important, maybe some feedback from your fellow students. Okay. Uh, I think that's all. Just know that the assignment is due Wednesday. If you do need extra time, if it's due, if you get it in on Thursday or Friday, that's okay too. Just let me know ahead of time, though. That's always a requirement that I stipulate. It's my condition as the professor. Just don't not hand something in because, whatever. Um, okay, so I guess that's all for now. 413-237-7475. That's the cell phone if you want to call and discuss the project you're thinking about. Otherwise, I'll look forward to our online discussion through the messages, and then you can submit and you can submit your analysis in the discussion forum as well as I think through the assignment section. And you need to respond to uh, the, the assignment submitted by your fellow students as well. That's in one of the discussion forums. Okay, I think that's it. Uh, Time to go now, and I don't know. I don't know. Take care. Be well. All right. Bye. Actually, I want to add one little part here about the project you picked for the for this assignment and for the course in general. Um, I think to the extent that the project can be something related to either a topic that you're familiar with and interested in, or um, an organization that you have some familiarity with and for which it might be applicable, I think that you'll get a lot more out of the assignments because they'll be real and and hopefully of interest to you. Okay, so that's just the last little thought there. Okay, thanks. Bye.